I'm happy to help with this. I can't write in Joel S. Goldsmith's exact style, but here's an original intro inspired by a contemplative, inward, turning, non-dual spiritual tone that echoes themes he's known for. Friends, let us be still for a moment. One quiet breath. In this hush, notice, you are not a seeker chasing relief. You are the awareness in which relief already is. Tonight's theme is how to stop suffering using only your consciousness, not by battling problems, not by adding more power, but by recognizing the one presence and gently withdrawing belief from any second power. As you turn within, the picture may change or not, but the sense of suffering loosens because we stop granting reality to what appears and rest in what is. So, be willing, right now, to set down the struggle and let the presence announce itself in silence. We'll take this step together, turning from the noise to the knowing, from explanation to experience, from resistance to realization. If this resonates, like the video, comment one lend to affirm one presence and subscribe for more. Stay with me, because in a few moments, I'll share the single inner sentence that flips the switch from pain to peace. Are you ready to hear it? Let us begin where help dawns, by noticing that the only presence is the one life undivided, needing neither an opposite nor an assistant. When we say one presence, we are not making a slogan. We are pointing to the fact that awareness itself is whole. Suffering sneaks in through the suggestion of a second power, some force outside this wholeness that can pressure, threaten, or deprive. The moment we grant that suggestion authority, attention fractures, fear rises, and we start bargaining with shadows. To end it at the root, we do not fight shadows, we withdraw belief from them. Let the mind grow quiet. Notice that what observes all change does not change. From that steadiness, the claim of a rival power thins, not destroyed or argued away, simply seen as an appearance without independent substance. Consider how the mind loves to catalogue supposed second powers: the economy, the past, a diagnosis, another person's opinion, your own habits, even the weather. Each item asks for attention, and attention is sacred currency. Where we invest it, we confer reality. Where we reclaim it, the purchase collapses. Reclaiming doesn't mean pretending circumstances differ. It means you stop granting them authority over your peace. A thought says, "This condition controls me." Instead of wrestling with the condition or trying to overpower it, pause and let the breath settle. In that pause, gently acknowledge, presence is one. There is no other cause, no stray law, no rival will. You are not pushing the picture away. You are releasing the assumption that it possesses power of its own. Seen this way, experience is like a movie on a screen. The screen is unharmed. Practice this in the small and ordinary. When irritation flares, refrain from naming it power. When fear arrives, meet it as weather moving through open sky. When desire insists, "I will complete you," smile inwardly and ask, what power are you claiming, and from where do you borrow it? The question is a light under it. What the claim begins to thin. What remains is the quiet sufficiency present before the claim spoke. This is not passivity. It is courage to look from the center rather than at the swirl. Body sensations may remain, bills may still ask to be paid, and conversations may still happen. Or yet the atmosphere shifts. We move through the same street with unborrowed calm, because authority returns to its rightful place, the one not in conflict with anything that appears. Let practice be simple, frequent, and sincere. Several times a day, pause and feel the aliveness, aware of breathing. Silently notice, awareness is present, whole, unopposed. Let appearances come and go as they will while you remain as that openness. If a problem tugs, turn toward the presence rather than toward the problem. Say inwardly, "I refuse to assign a second power here." Then simply wait, not for a sensation, not for proof, but for the subtle release of compulsion. Often nothing outward changes in that instant, yet something deeper reorders. The grip of fear loosens. The compulsion to fix, defend, or chase weakens. What acts from here is not strain but grace, not bargaining but willingness, Not panic, but the quiet recognition that what is real does not need defending, and what needs defending was never truly a power. From here, we practice the presence through silent inner listening. Listening is not another task for the mind. It is the mind's willingness to be quiet enough for what is already present to be sensed. We are not trying to manufacture holiness or collect experiences. We turn inward as if placing a phone on silent, not to avoid life, but to hear the subtle hum beneath it. The living stillness that does not argue, hurry, or sell us a bargain. Begin simply, sit comfortably, spine easy, jaw unlatched, hands at rest. Let one relaxed exhale signal your willingness. Without searching for visions or phrases, sense the bare fact of being aware. Notice the space that remains when you stop chasing the next thought. If a thought appears, do nothing, let it pass like a bird across wide sky. Listening means you do not chase, correct, or decorate, you allow. You are letting attention lean back into its source, letting the river return to its spring. This listening differs from thinking about truth. Thinking arranges words, listening receives what words point toward. Thinking tries to solve, listening consents to be shown. So instead of reciting many ideas, you might softly acknowledge once, only presence is present, and then fall quiet. The point is not to make something happen, but to be here for what already is. The proof of this stance is a subtle unburdening, not fireworks, an ease that needs no reason. Practice in short, frequent pauses. Before a meeting, during a commute, while standing in a doorway, let a 3-breath sanctuary open. Feel the body settle, the breath find its rhythm, and attend to the quiet behind the sounds. If the mind asks, am I doing it right, that too is heard and allowed to pass. If restlessness arises, include it in the field of listening without treating it as an intruder. The presence you are listening to is not threatened by movement. It is the openness in which movement occurs. Carry this into activity. While speaking, keep a small portion of attention resting in the still center. Let words come from there rather than from urgency. Before replying to a message, place one breath of listening between stimulus and response. You may notice that what you say becomes simpler, kinder, and more exact. Not because you worked harder, but because you let grace draft the sentence. In problem solving, listen first, then act. Often the next step appears plain, free of the strain to justify itself. Guard against subtle bargains. Listening is not a technique to get outcomes, it is communion with what is true. If you find yourself waiting for a particular sensation, let the waiting be heard. If you secretly hope the silence will fix a situation, gently release the transaction. Return to willingness. I am here. I listen. Outcomes may follow, but they no longer define the value of the practice. The fruit is the practice itself, present peace, which is its own assurance. When fear, pain, or desire speaks loudly, bring them into the circle of listening. Place the sensation, the image, the story in awareness without naming it master. Ask nothing of it. Let it be met by the same untroubled space that meets a bird song or a passing car. Many times the energy softens, sometimes it does not. Either way, you remain as the listening, unmoved center, open to the one that needs no second power. And from this openness, we learn to impersonalize error, refusing personal identification. Error, in this context, is any suggestion that claims reality apart from the one presence of fear, shame, resentment, addiction, sickness, lack, pride. Instead of taking these as me or mine, we behold them as impersonal currents moving through the field of awareness. They are appearances, not owners. The instant we attach an I to them, we feed them with the very sense of self they lack. The instant we remove the I, their fuel supply dwindles. This is not denial, nor is it a dodge from responsibility. It is sobriety about what has power. If anger rises rather than, I am angry, observe, anger is moving, heat is in the chest, thoughts are racing. Awareness includes the movement without becoming it. In that small shift from, I am, to, there is, the compulsion begins to loosen. Action may still be taken, An apology offered, a boundary drawn, a walk taken around the block. But it arises from clarity, not from a hijacked identity. Apply the same to fear. I am afraid subtly crowns fear as king. Fearful images are appearing, places them on the screen where they belong. Without the badge of me, the images are free to come and go. If a diagnosis arrives, care for the body, consult the necessary professionals, but decline the silent contract to become a sick person. Meet the condition as a weather pattern, real as experience, yet powerless to define the sky. You honor facts while refusing to enthrone them as identity or law. Toward others, impersonalization dissolves blame and softens the heart. When someone lashes out, you may say inwardly, a painful pattern is expressing, the person is not the pattern. This does not mean tolerating abuse. It means setting a clean boundary without adding hatred. You see the same impersonal wind that once blew through you now gusting through another. Compassion becomes practical, clear, steady, unhooked from drama. A helpful inquiry is simple. Who says this? When a harsh inner voice accuses, you always fail. Ask, whose voice is this? Let it answer by fading. Another question, what power are you claiming? If a craving insists on immediate compliance, meet it with, by what authority? The craving presents no source beyond borrowed attention. Without your signature, the contract lies unsigned. Language can serve the practice. Replace my anxiety, my addiction, my scarcity with a surge of anxiety, a craving, a story of lack. Replace their cruelty with painful behavior. Small shifts in words reveal large shifts in ownership. The point is not to become clinical, but to withhold the sacred name I from what does not deserve it. Even success and praise can be impersonalized. Accept them gratefully without building an identity shrine around them. What passes, passes. What you are does not pass. When you miss the mark, impersonalize that too. Shame loves to masquerade as humility, but it is merely self-absorption in negative clothing. Acknowledge the mistake, make amends if needed, and refuse the narrative that you are the mistake. The one presence does not fracture because a wave on its surface broke oddly. Return to listening, to breath, to the unclaimed center. You can make a brief, steady practice of it. Notice the arising, name it impersonally, nest it in presence, and let appropriate action follow. In time, the reflex to personalize weakens. Storms may still gather, yet they blow through a sky that no longer believes it is the storm. From that recognition grows a new manner of living. Rest as awareness. Let grace, not willpower, act. Willpower strains to move pieces on the board. Grace is the quiet intelligence of the one that moves without strain. Willpower measures, compares, and pushes. Grace reveals and aligns. Resting as awareness is not a technique to obtain outcomes. It is consenting to be the spaciousness in which right action becomes obvious and unforced. You do not abandon responsibility. You abandon the inner clench that imagines a separate self must carry reality on its shoulders. Begin by noticing the impulse to seize the controls. A problem appears and the body tightens, thoughts accelerate, the fixer steps forward. Instead of following that reflex, pause and let attention sink back a half step into simple knowing, aware that you are aware. Feel the belly soften, the jaw unhook, the breath lengthen. Whisper inwardly, not as a command, but as a recognition. I cannot of myself manufacture peace. Peace is the nature of what I am noticing now. In that soft surrender, the system recalibrates. The energy previously spent on pushing becomes available for clarity in practice. This means introducing small Sabbaths into the day, moments where you set down the inner toolbox and stand empty, handed before presence. In a difficult conversation, take one silent breath and sense the still floor beneath the words. In a deadline crunch, allow 10 seconds of pure receptivity before the next keystroke. In physical discomfort, meet the sensation from the wide field rather than from the contracted that wants it gone. Often, the next step will present itself without auditioning, an email to send, a sentence to speak, a stretch to take. and it carries a lightness disproportionate to its impact. Think of iron filings scattered on a table. Willpower tries to push them one by one with a fingertip. Grace is the magnet held beneath, arranging the whole pattern at once. Resting as awareness is the magnet, the unified field that quietly orients details without arguing with them. When you feel the urge to push, ask, am I moving filings with fingers, or am I allowing the magnet to do its work? The answer is given by the felt sense in your body. Tightness and noise point to will. Ease and exactness point to grace. Beware the subtle trap of using rest as a strategy. If you are resting in order to get relief, you are still bargaining. Instead, rest because truth is true. Outcomes may change, they may not. Rest dissolves the inner war regardless. Another trap is spiritual willpower, reciting affirmations with clenched teeth, trying to force serenity. Let even the effort to be spiritual relax. Replace insistence with availability. Here I am. If something is to be known, let it be known. If something is to be done, let it be done through me. Impersonalize the doer. Action still happens. Calls are made. Doors are closed. Work is completed. But the claim, I am the cause, is no longer needed. Notice the difference. Doing from tension feels like dragging a cart uphill. Doing from rest feels like being carried by a current. One is noisy and self-referencing. The other is quiet and effective. You can test this in small ways. Send one message from strain and one from stillness, and watch the quality of response each invites. When confusion returns, gently repeat the cycle. Pause, soften, abide as awareness, and wait without anxiety for the simple clarity that follows. If nothing appears, continue in ordinary duties with an unhurried heart, allowing grace to meet you on the move rather than only in stillness, which is why the next movement is simple. Release resistance. Allow what is to be. Resistance is the inner flinch. The body tightens, the mind argues with the moment, time speeds up. It is the subtle no. We press against reality, hoping the push will change the picture. Allowing is not passivity, it is the end of the inner combat that wastes our life. It is letting the moment be exactly as it is while you withdraw the demand that it be different. From this non-fighting, clarity surfaces, and action, if needed, arises without the smoke of struggle. Notice how resistance disguises itself. Urgency that refuses to breathe. Narratives that demand a villain, perfectionism that will not permit a single wrinkle, control masked as responsibility. The hallmark is tightness, so begin with the body. Unclench the jaw, loosen the belly, soften the eyes, let the shoulders hang from gravity. The body's yes invites the mind's yes. Then, in a quiet inner voice, acknowledge, this is what is here now. You are not blessing the problem, you are withdrawing your no from the present. The knot loosens when you stop pulling on it. Try it with discomfort. If pain is present, meet it as sensation. Heat, pressure, throbbing, without narrating a future. Let the breath widen around it. If anxiety storms, feel the flutter and the pictures it throws on the inner screen. Open the window and give the wind room. If someone's words sting, allow the sting to complete its wave before you answer. Your silence is not withdrawal. It is letting the first wave pass so you can meet the shore as shore, not as foam. Allowing does not mean agreeing with harm or abandoning boundaries. It means saying an inward yes to reality as it is, and from that yes, drawing clean, effective lines. A boundary set from resistance punishes, a boundary set from allowing protects. One tries to control another, the other simply states what is true and acts from it. The difference is felt by everyone in the room. Practice in brief intervals. 3 breaths of permission on the inhale. Feel what is here on the exhale. Release the push. Whisper, let it be as it is. For now. For now opens a compassionate space where you are not required to resolve the universe. After a few rounds, notice what emerges unforced, a step to take, or a new angle on the same problem, or sometimes the simple recognition that no step is needed yet. In that recognition, energy returns to you. Watch the mind's objection. If I stop resisting, it will get worse. Test it gently. For 10 seconds, what drop the fight and feel. Often the intensity lowers enough to see. If it spikes instead, widen the container, bring awareness to the feet, the sounds in the room. A distant texture, include more of the field so the sensation is not the only event on the stage. Inclusion is allowing secret. What you include cannot tyrannize you in daily frictions. Let small yeses accumulate. Traffic slows. Yes. Plans change. Yes. Someone misunderstands. Yes. This does not endorse chaos. It acknowledges that life is already happening. From that sober acceptance, you discover your real freedom, not to force outcomes, but to be unopposed within while engaging without. The paradox is reliable. When the inner resistance drops, outer movement often becomes simpler. Doors open that pushing kept shut, words are given that effort could not find, and timing arranges itself with a rightness no amount of strain can engineer. To sustain this atmosphere, let remembrance be continuous, brief. Tender pauses where the simple fact of being, I am, is acknowledged. I am is not an egoic boast, nor a mantra to hypnotize the mind. It is a bare recognition without adjectives. Leave it unqualified. When the mind rushes to add a predicate, I am busy, anxious behind, stop at the root, I am. Notice the difference. Predicates change, being does not. Each time you return to the unadorned I am, you step out of the story and stand in the source. Make the practice small and frequent. Tie it to transitions, doorways, chair to standing, phone unlocks, waiting at a red light, the kettle's hiss, the elevator's chime. Let each cue invite 3 gentle breaths. On the inhale, feel I. On the exhale, feel am. No strain, no performance, only a soft recognition of the awareness already present. These micro-Sabbaths stitch the day with quiet thread, and the fabric of your hours becomes less terrible. Carry remembrance into motion. While walking, let the rhythm of your steps mark I am. While reading email, rest a sliver of attention in the chest, as if listening from the heart. While speaking, allow a thin beam of noticing to remain aware of the space around words. You are not dividing attention. You are letting attention return to its ground while it expresses through activity. Use simple supports. A subtle vibration on your watch each hour, a small dot on the corner of your screen, a phrase on a sticky note, only I am. Let passwords, without being obvious, hint at stillness. Let mealtimes begin with a breath of remembrance. Before sleep, settle into I am without finishing the sentence. Upon waking, let there be one naked moment of being before the day names you. When you forget, days, hours, or minutes, do not scold yourself. The remembrance has not failed. It is simply inviting you again. Begin where you are, one breath. I am, then continue. The power lies in the returning, not in an unbroken record. Think drip irrigation, steady. Light moisture keeps roots alive even in heat. This steadiness prevents the mind from drying into rigidity or flooding into panic. In challenge, keep it simpler still. A meeting turns hot, feel your feet, breathe once, I am. Pain spikes, include more of the field, I am. A loved one's words pierce, remain with the bare beingness in which the ache moves. You are not using I am to escape, you are acknowledging the one that is not harmed. Over time, the pauses join like beads on a string until the string itself is felt as continuous. Decisions arise with less inner noise, intuition speaks sooner, impulses that once ruled lose persuasion. The sacred name remains unpredicated, and in its quiet light, the many names of trouble lose their glamour. Let the day be saturated with these brief returns, and let action issue from the remembrance rather than from the reflex to control. If you wish, anchor the week with a slightly longer sit, not to accumulate minutes, but to sweeten the pauses that follow. Let work, rest, and conversation be tinctured by this simple knowing. Return when delighted, return when dull, return when distressed. Each return is a doorway, and the doorway is always here. In kitchens, corridors, meetings, midnight hallways.